Hi, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name's Dan, and today I'm going to be reviewing Guy Ritchie's new film, The Gentleman. So The Gentleman is kind of a crime thriller comedy, and it has loads of different interconnecting storylines like Snatch, like Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, so it's quite hard to pin down, but ultimately Matthew McConaughey is the protagonist, and he owns a weed empire, and yeah, he's basically trying to sell his weed empire, and there's lots of kind of scheming and stuff going on to try and lowball him and to try and deceive him, and there's all these this kind of double crossing of people and lots of foul play. So I really enjoyed this. Snatch and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, I love both of those films. And I haven't really loved a Guy Ritchie film since then. This is probably my favourite film since Snatch of his. It's definitely not for everyone. You'll know, if you've seen Guy Ritchie's early films, you'll know if you like that style of filmmaking. It's very kind of in your face. It's very stylish. Like it's told in a non-linear narrative. So you've got like this weird framing device where Hugh Grant and Charlie Hunnam, they have these scenes together, and those scenes kind of frame the movie. Which I don't know if it was necessary to do it like that, but it does add kind of it just makes it more interesting rather than telling it chronologically. They kind of flash back to bits, and it helps kind of keep it well paced and stuff. But the characters for me were the best part of this. There's a collection of scene-stealing characters in this. For me, I mean, Matthew McConaughey was great as the protagonist, but for me, Colin Farrell, Hugh Grant, and Charlie Hunnam were all absolute scene stealers. They were brilliant. And Henry Golding was really good as well. I mean, everyone in the movie was great, really. And they have that kind of Guy Ritchie quippy dialogue, which sometimes it is brilliant and sometimes it's a little bit too much. Particularly when I first started watching the film, for the first half an hour, I was a bit unsure about it. It took me a while to kind of fall into it and get used to that style of dialogue. There are some really good bits of dialogue in here, and I'm sure they'll be quoted for years to come, but yeah, there are also times where it's just really self-indulgent and you just kind of sat there like, all right, just get to the point, like, what are we trying to say here? So that dialogue's a mixed bag, but for the most part it's good, and it's at least more interesting than your regular dialogue would be. The set designs and the costumes and stuff were really like fanciful and classy, and because this is a film about gangsters and stuff like that, but gangsters in that classy way, you know, in like that kind of Peaky Blinders way where it's like cool to be a gangster and it's a classy thing. And so yeah, they all wear like really nice suits, and they'll have like really kind of intricately decorated wallpapers and interiors in the buildings and stuff, and yeah, it just added like a really nice flair to the film, I thought. Just made it look really visually appealing. Sorry, let me check my notes real quick. Oh yeah, another character I forgot to mention is Matthew McConaughey's wife, who is a really strong female character, and one that I didn't expect to see, because Guy Ritchie is a very masculine filmmaker, and he has all these ensembles of male characters, and there usually aren't really women in his films, and if they are, they usually aren't that strong. So it was a nice surprise to see this character. I forget her name. Rosalind, she was called. Michelle Dockery, she's played by. And yeah, she was a really good, strong female character, but not in the way that she's like perfect, because I think often people try to do strong female characters and they just go, oh well, we'll just make them perfect and flawless and make them a badass, and really then at that point it's not interesting, it's not human. So she was flawed, she was kind of complex and layered, but she was ultimately a strong female character in the best way possible. So I thought that was really good to see. Yeah, so the humour in this, I thought there was some really funny stuff in this film, but it brings me to a bit of a sticking point, because I've seen a lot of people call this film racist, and I can't really sit here and deny that. There are jokes at the expense of the Asian characters and at the expense of a black character, but the thing is, the characters saying them are supposed to be lowlives, or they're gangsters, so it's kind of fitting for the characters, you know, like it kind of reminds me of like when people call Django Unchained racist because the N-word's used a lot, and it's like, well, it takes place in the 1800s and it's about slavery, like it's just accurate. So, you know, and I know, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it is indulgent of Guy Ritchie, and the jokes don't have to be in there. And so the racist jokes, yeah, they're not gonna sit well with a lot of people. But there are a lot of jokes that aren't, that aren't problematic and that are just really funny. So there was some good humour in here, but it'll be a mixed bag. And this film will offend some people. That is undoubted. That's undoubtable. So that's just something that I felt I needed to address. Oh yeah, there's got this whole meta thing going on as well, where Hugh Grant is a screenwriter and he's trying to sell, basically the events of the movie, he has turned it into a script that he's trying to sell to Miramax. And there's a really weird scene where they have a film producer who's supposed to be Harvey Weinstein, and it's really weird. And I don't really know if I liked it or not, because Guy Ritchie has this thing as well where, he's a advocate for like film as opposed to digital, and so he talks about that, and I think that's a good thing. I'm not really in a position to be picky with the films that I make, but if I had a choice, I would choose film over digital, and I think it's a good thing to preserve that and keep the art form, alive like that. So I like that, but the whole Hugh Grant Miramax thing, I don't know, it was very meta, and just kind of poked fun at Hollywood and stuff. So if that's your thing, you'll enjoy that. But just in general, it was just a really entertaining, really entertaining, stylish film with some good dialogue and some memorable characters. It had a really good soundtrack as well, and the way that Guy Ritchie uses music, the way he cuts it to action scenes and stuff, is really good. The action's well filmed as well, and the way this film ends, it just ends in such a way that it kind of gave me like an adrenaline rush, which I also got with his other movies like Snatch and Lock, Stock. Like they're really like breakneck speed, lots of twists and turns, and then they end at a really satisfying conclusion. And there's always like a really cool song playing, and then you'll have like some slow motion, the heroes walking away in slow motion or something looking cool. And yeah, I don't know, it just left me with a good taste in my mouth basically. And yeah, it was an unpredictable plot, which was good. Never knew what was going to happen. You never really know if any characters are safe, which is nice to feel, because sometimes when you watch films, it's like hard to really fear for the protagonist, because you're like, well, they're the protagonist, so they're at least going to make it to the end. But with this, you don't really know who's safe, because there isn't really a main protagonist. There's a bunch of there's a kind of an ensemble of protagonists. My God. There's an ensemble of protagonists, so yeah, you don't really know who's safe and who's not, and you don't know who's working with who and who's double crossing who. So you're kind of a bit suspicious of everyone, and it just helps keep you engaged, and it makes it a bit more interesting. So yeah, I think that's everything I've got. So yeah, that was my review of The Gentleman. Overall, I really enjoyed it. It's not a flawless film. It does have problems. I thought it was a bit overindulgent at times as well. Like there are times where there'll just be like writing will come up on screen, or they'll like freeze frame and they'll kind of make a joke or have some narration that's not really necessary, or there's a lot of like weird stylistic choices, and the film does feel like hectic as fuck. It's really just like mayhem, but for the most part I really enjoyed it, and I thought the characters were the best part of it. And yeah, if you like Guy Ritchie's first two films, I'm pretty sure you'll like this. If you didn't, you probably won't. But watch the trailer, you'll know if you'll like it or not. But I really enjoyed it. So that's my review of The Gentleman. Cheers for watching this, guys. Don't forget to drop a like on the video if you enjoyed this, because it really does help the channel out. It helps people, it helps the video get seen, basically. It kind of pushes it and promotes it. So don't forget to do that if you did like the video. I should be back in a few days, or about a week maybe, with a review of Birds of Prey, so stay tuned for that. And until then, I'll see you next time. Cheers, guys.